The Veronica Case, Spain's most horrifying police report.
Imagine calling the police because you think your house is haunted. Not ghost hunting YouTubers. Not paranormal influencers. Actual police officers. And imagine those officers arriving at your apartment expecting to calm down a stressed family, only to leave disturbed themselves. Because inside that apartment they claimed doors opened by themselves. A crucifix ripped off the wall. Objects moved with nobody touching them. And strange sounds echoed through rooms that were completely empty. This wasn't some anonymous internet creepypasta. It became one of the most famous paranormal cases in Spain. A case connected to a teenage girl named Maria Gutierrez Lazaro. A Ouija board session, a terrifying family curse, and a police report that many people still consider impossible to explain. But what makes this story so disturbing isn't just the paranormal side, it's the possibility that underneath all the horror, this might also be the story of a struggling family slowly collapsing under trauma, stress, fear, and belief. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't whether ghosts are real, it's how powerful the human mind becomes once fear fully enters a home. The story begins in Spain in the early 1990s. The Gutierrez family lived in a modest apartment complex in an area called Luis Martin, one of those older mid-century apartment buildings where every balcony looks identical. Terracotta walls, narrow hallways, thin walls where neighbors could hear arguments through the night. 8 people lived inside that apartment. The father, Maximo, the mother, Concepcion, and their 6 children, Ruby, Marianela, Maria, Ricardo, Maximiliano, and José Luis. It was crowded, noisy, chaotic, always alive, and according to people who knew them, the family wasn't evil or strange. They were simply struggling. A lot of paranormal stories begin inside homes already carrying emotional pressure. Financial stress, arguments, exhaustion, family tension. Fear grows much faster in environments where people already feel emotionally overwhelmed. And the Gutierrez family definitely lived under pressure. Concepcion and Maximo had eloped years earlier because her family disapproved of the relationship. So from the very beginning, their marriage carried conflict. Maximo worked an ordinary low-paying job. Supporting 8 people meant survival was difficult. Arguments became normal. Not because they hated each other, but because poverty has a way of draining patience from people. And I think that's something often ignored in stories like this. People focus on demons, ghosts, curses, but emotional exhaustion can completely transform the atmosphere inside a home. In 1990, Concepcion received news that her father was critically ill in the hospital. Now, this wasn't a warm family reunion situation. Her father still resented her for eloping years earlier. But despite everything, relatives encouraged her to visit. So Concepcion brought her husband and all 6 children. Imagine being those children, meeting your grandfather for the very first time. Probably nervous, curious, maybe hopeful. But the visit became a disaster. The grandfather reportedly reacted with anger the moment he saw them. He called Concepcion disobedient, rejected the family, even pushed away grandchildren trying to greet him. And then came the moment people still talk about today. When 16-year-old Maria leaned in to greet him, the old man allegedly told her, "If I cannot hurt you in this world, I will hurt you in the afterlife." Now, whether he literally said that or whether the story became exaggerated later, nobody knows. But psychologically, words like that stay with people, especially inside already emotional families. Not long afterward, the grandfather died, and for a while, life continued normally. Maria attended school with her siblings. They laughed together, supported one another, until one afternoon changed everything. At school, 2 classmates invited Maria and her sister Marianela to try using a Ouija board. Now, whether you believe Ouija boards are supernatural or not, they've carried fear around them for decades. And fear itself is incredibly powerful. The group went into an abandoned room at school. Dusty, quiet, almost warehouse-like. Candles were lit. A small glass was placed in the center. Marianella stayed near the door while the others began asking questions. At first, nothing happened. Then, according to their story, the atmosphere changed. The room suddenly felt suffocatingly hot. The air became heavy. Outside, the sky reportedly darkened. And then the glass started moving, vibrating, sliding, spelling out words. The participants panicked. But instead of stopping, curiosity pushed them further. And this is something deeply human. Curiosity often overrides fear, especially when people think they're standing near something forbidden. Maria asked, "Who are you?" The glass spelled out, "Veronica." Then Maria reportedly asked another question. "Who are you really?" And this time the response became personal. "I am your grandfather." Immediately the atmosphere changed from scary to horrifying, because suddenly the session connected directly to the grandfather's alleged threat. Marianella tried opening the door. It wouldn't move. Meanwhile, Maria began convulsing. The glass shattered, candles extinguished, and witnesses claimed smoke seemed to enter Maria's body through her nose. Then she started screaming. Eyes rolled white, body shaking violently. A teacher named Dolores reportedly heard the commotion and forced the door open. She found Maria collapsing onto the floor. Moments later, Maria regained consciousness with little memory of what happened. But according to the family, that was only the beginning. After the Ouija session, Maria allegedly began changing. Her personality became unstable. She grew angry easily, emotionally reactive, sensitive. Rumors spread quickly at school. People began avoiding her. Honestly, that kind of social isolation can seriously affect a teenager psychologically, especially when everyone around you starts treating you like something dangerous. At night, Maria reportedly talked in her sleep. She complained of nightmares, said she saw dark shadows following her. Her sister claimed she once saw Maria floating slightly above the bed. Now, whether that actually happened or whether fear distorted perception, impossible to know. But fear changes memory. That's important. Once people believe something supernatural is happening, the brain starts interpreting ordinary events differently. And the family's fear kept escalating. Maria began experiencing violent episodes, convulsions, blackouts, strange speech. Sometimes she reportedly spoke in languages nobody understood. Then, afterward, she remembered nothing. One of the most disturbing incidents happened in the bathroom. Maria walked inside almost mechanically, like she was sleepwalking. Then suddenly screaming erupted from behind the locked door. Her mother tried opening it. Nothing. The door wouldn't move. And then, according to the family, it suddenly opened by itself. Maria lay unconscious on the floor. And strangely, many of the incidents centered around that bathroom, which later became the most feared room in the apartment. Conception brought Maria to doctors. At one point, she wondered if Maria had inherited epilepsy. But according to reports, doctors found no clear physical explanation. Maria was reportedly declared healthy. Even medication didn't help. And this is where the story becomes really complicated. Because mental illness, neurological conditions, trauma, sleep disorders, stress-induced episodes, and psychosomatic symptoms can all overlap in extremely confusing ways. Especially in the early 1990s, medical understanding wasn't what it is today. But inside the family, supernatural explanations began taking over. And once a family collectively believes something evil is present, every strange noise starts feeling threatening. Every nightmare feels meaningful. Every coincidence becomes evidence. Maria's condition worsened. She allegedly attacked siblings, scratched family members, displayed abnormal strength. Her father reportedly struggled to restrain her. Then one day, Maria quietly told her mother, "If I die, please place my photo inside the coffin." That sentence feels horrifying because it sounds less like horror movie dialogue and more like someone deeply exhausted. By July 1991, the situation had become unbearable. Maria suffered increasingly violent episodes. Then, on the night of July 13th, she reportedly attacked family members again before collapsing unconscious. This time, she never woke up. At around 3 a.m. on July 14th, 1991, Maria was pronounced dead. She was only 16 years old. The reported cause of death was respiratory failure, and doctors reportedly struggled to explain it. No major disease, no obvious physical cause. The family believed the nightmare had finally ended. But according to them, it only became worse. After Maria's funeral, strange incidents allegedly continued inside the apartment. Objects moved, doors slammed, glasses shattered during the night. Family members claimed they heard Maria crying from inside the bathroom. Eventually, they locked the bathroom entirely, stopped using it. But according to the family, the disturbances continued anyway. Blankets were pulled while people slept, shadow figures appeared, furniture shifted. At one point, the family dog was allegedly pushed down the stairs. Their youngest child was injured by a flying glass object. And this is where the psychological atmosphere inside the home must have become unbearable. Imagine living in constant anticipation, every night waiting for something terrifying to happen. And that level of fear changes people. Sleep deprivation alone can distort perception dramatically. People start hearing things, seeing things, misinterpreting ordinary events. But still, some details remain difficult to explain, especially the police report. By November 1992, the family reportedly could no longer handle the situation. They gathered outside the apartment and refused to re-enter. Finally, out of desperation, they called the police. Now, this is the reason the Veronica case became legendary, because unlike many paranormal stories, this one involved official documentation. When officers arrived, they reportedly noticed unusual coldness inside the apartment. They found crucifixes turned upside down, scratch marks on walls. Then came one of the strangest details. A framed photograph of Maria appeared burned internally. The frame itself remained intact, but when the photo was touched, it crumbled into ash. Inspector Jose Pedro, one of the officers present, later documented events that supposedly happened during the investigation. He claimed the bathroom door opened and closed by itself. A crucifix fell from the wall despite being securely attached. Pebble-like impacts struck windows with nobody outside. Now, whether all of this truly happened exactly as described is still debated. But the existence of the report gave the story enormous credibility in the public eye. Because suddenly this wasn't just family testimony. Police officers themselves seemed disturbed. And once authorities become involved, paranormal stories gain a completely different level of power. Eventually, the family moved away. And according to them, the disturbances stopped completely. Interestingly, the new owners never reported paranormal activity, which raises a major question. If the apartment itself was haunted, why did the phenomena disappear? Years later, two of Maria's brothers publicly claimed the entire story had been exaggerated. They argued Maria actually suffered from epilepsy, and they accused their mother of becoming obsessed with supernatural interpretations. Now this changed everything, because suddenly, the story no longer looked like a simple haunting. It looked potentially like a tragedy shaped by fear, grief, and belief. But then another complication appeared. Medical records reportedly showed Maria had no diagnosed epilepsy. And critics pointed out the brothers requested large payments for interviews, which made people question their credibility too. So even decades later, nobody fully agrees on what happened. That uncertainty is probably why this story survived. Because unresolved mysteries stay alive longer than solved ones. The case became so famous in Spain that it inspired the horror film Veronica. And when the movie released, audiences reportedly left theaters terrified, not because the movie relied on cheap jump scares, but because it carried the disturbing feeling that maybe, somewhere underneath the dramatization, there was a real family at the center of it. A real girl, a real death, a real police report. And that makes horror feel different, because fictional ghosts are entertaining. But stories tied to real grief feel heavier. I think what people miss most about the Veronica case is that whether paranormal activity happened or not, this story is still deeply tragic. At the center of all the fear and mythology was a 16-year-old girl, a teenager growing up inside financial stress, family tension, social rumors, fear, religious symbolism, and emotional pressure. And once the supernatural narrative took over, everything around her started reinforcing it. Her family believed it, neighbors feared it, media sensationalized it. That kind of environment can completely reshape reality for people. Now, does that mean the paranormal events were fake? Not necessarily. Some details remain genuinely difficult to explain, especially the police testimony. But I think the most unsettling part of this story isn't whether demons existed inside that apartment. It's realizing how thin the line can become between fear, belief, trauma, and reality. Because once an entire household becomes convinced something evil is present, the atmosphere itself changes. And maybe that's why this case still terrifies people decades later. Not because it gives us clear answers, but because it doesn't.